a child of the 70s, my parents expected us to get ourselves where we needed to be. Usually that meant walking, biking, taking a bus, or begging for a ride. When I was in the second grade, I went to tap dance class by walking 5 blocks from my house to take a public bus downtown. I'd ridden the bus with my older sisters before, but no one thought twice about having me take the trip alone. Before my first trip, my mother's only advice was to sit at the front of the bus, and if anyone acted strange, speak loudly to the bus driver. Even at age 7, I realized this strategy would only get me so far. By age 23, mass transit was a part of everyday living in San Francisco, a place I could count on to experience humans in various conditions. So taking a Greyhound home to Eugene, Oregon was not something I was looking forward to. I was broke, tired, and dreading 14 hours on a bus. Surprising to me, the trip to Oregon passed without any trouble. There was plenty of open seats, and the only talkative character on the bus was the driver. He said he was from Southern Oregon, but spoke with an accent that seemed more Alabama than Ashland. I remember that he got on the speaker system during the beautiful forested stretch of I-5, heading over the Siskiyou Mountains, and declared, "Don't listen to them environmentalists. Them spotted owls are barn owls. They're in every barn around here." I forgave him his long-winded tales when he pulled into downtown Eugene bus terminal 20 minutes early. I was home and ready for a weekend with friends. 2 days later, I was back at the bus terminal, exhausted and hungover from 2 wedding parties over the weekend. I was praying I could pass out and wake up 14 hours later. Head pounding, I stepped onto the bus, and my hope was immediately crushed. The bus was packed. I walked past the family of 4. In the front, no space. Past a couple of rows of college-age kids, no seats. Even creepy older men seemed to be paired off with not even a space for me. With each step, my head was spinning faster and disappointment turned to despair. I found 1 seat in the back of the bus, in a section filled with sprawled out, angry-looking travelers. It looked like everyone knew each other based on the loud conversations and the unfriendly welcome. The empty seat was next to a man who did not acknowledge my arrival and seemed to be in a constant fight with the woman directly behind me. One row up, a guy was playing cassette tapes on a large boombox. In the back row, 2 jokers are playing cards and smoking cigarettes, which were not allowed. That kept me in a constant state of wanting to throw up. I kept my head down in my hands and tried to stay out of trouble. I slowly learned that my seatmates had left Detroit 5 days earlier. 5 days on a Greyhound bus. No wonder the fuck it attitude. I realized it had nothing to do with me, the delirious white girl invading on private space. I figured the road warriors stopped being civil somewhere around Wyoming. For the next 10 hours, I tried ignoring the arguments and concentrated on holding myself together. I sympathized with my seatmate when he told Mr. DJ to shove the cassette up his ass the 4th time he started playing Rakim's Paid in Full album. I drifted in and out of sleep. Depending on the snoring patterns of the word warriors, the volume of Chuck D in the boombox, and my queasy stomach stirred by the occasional disgusting smell from the toilet. A stop in Sacramento allowed a brief reprieve to get out, stretch, gather supplies, and finally get to a payphone. I called my boyfriend, who was picking me up in San Francisco, to tell him we were already an hour late. He asked me twice if everything was all right. I could only reply that my mental state was slipping. Returning to the bus, I noticed a middle-aged man wearing a uniform standing near the door. He was sweating profusely and reading a map. Turns out the panicked-looking man was the new bus driver. 20 minutes outside of Sacramento, we pull off the freeway to drop off a passenger. Next thing I remember, I was jolted awake when the back of the bus suddenly careens into a ditch, which I discovered was the result of the driver trying a U-turn on a 2-lane country road. The driver slowly inched the bus out of the ditch while my seatmates mumbled rude comments. Not much later, the driver is trying a new mid-street U-turn. Boombox guy quiets the music and screams, "What the hell are you doing?" The driver slows the bus and comes to a near stop in the middle of the road. The passenger trying to exit loudly explains which roads to take. The driver followed his instructors and arrived to the stop. Shaking their heads, the road warriors drifted back to sleep while I pondered what the hell had just happened. An hour after we left Sacramento, more talking from the front of the bus woke me up. I hear we're heading north instead of south. It took a few minutes for my foggy brain to understand what they were saying. Road signs confirmed that we were heading back to Sacramento instead of to Oakland. Someone yells, "Where are we going?" No reply. Now, most of the bus is talking and trying to figure out what's going on. Miles pass and we are still heading north. My section of the bus is sort of out of it. Confused and barely coherent, I tap the shoulder of the silent, least friendly road warrior in our section, the guy across from the boombox dude. "Can you find out where we're going?" I ask. He leans into the aisle and screams to the top of the bus, "Hey, homie, you're going the wrong way." Soon the whole bus is chanting, "Turn around, turn around, turn around." It takes a few more exit, but the driver does exit and returns to the freeway heading south, confirming what I was too baffled to accept. The driver had no idea what he was doing. Two passengers ready to exit pipe up next. "Hey, driver, do you know how to get to the bus station in Vacaville?" No response. The driver never utters a single sound for the entire trip. The Vacaville passengers move to the front of the bus and start giving directions. Next, it starts to rain. No windshield wipers go on. It's totally blurry. I can't see out the front. Can the driver? "Hey, turn on the wipers," I hear from behind me. Nothing happens. More chanting. Then I see chain-smoking guy stand up, walk to the front of the bus, crouch over the bus driver, search the dashboard, reach over, and turns on the windshield wipers. And at that moment, I discovered how every successful mutiny in the history of mankind starts. A group collectively realized that our fate is in the hands of someone we no longer trust, and just like that, we are one. Each exit is coordinated the same way. The people exiting walk to the front of the bus and provide instructions on how to get to the stop. And the crazy driver follows without a word. There's no panic, no real anger. I was amazed how little emotion was expressed at all, just an exhausted crowd ready to be home. We make our way to Oakland. The bus comes to a stop in a pull-in, pull-out parking lot. The driver is the first off the bus and he is gone. Everyone files out. The Detroit group is gone. Nearly everyone is gone. Just 5 people remain who are going across the bay to San Francisco. We were shocked and relieved. As we're waiting for a driver, we are recounting the ordeal, which sounds very empowering when you say it in retrospect. More time passes, laughter turns to irritation. I knew our bus driver was out getting high somewhere, but how difficult is it to find a replacement to drive for 12 miles? It's about 2 a.m. and I am stressed about work expecting me at 8. We're milling around the front of the bus, and I plop down in the driver's seat, grab the steering wheel, and say, "We're taking the bus." As a complete joke. But instead of a laugh, I hear the engine turn on, and I jump from the seat, and then the door closes. Without a word, I sit right back down and slowly press the gas pedal. The bus moves forward, generating no movement at all from the terminal. I'm thinking, holy hell, I am sitting in the driver's seat and the bus is moving. The 4 other passengers are standing all around me, and everybody is leaning forward, almost willing the bus to San Francisco. Maybe this isn't a joke. I'm thinking less like me and more like a road warrior. Maybe we're supposed to get ourselves to San Francisco. With my foot still on the gas pedal, I feel the bus tires leave the station. I'm gripping the wheel, but I don't think of anything else at all. I don't think of driving. I focus only on the white lines of the road and the sound of the people next to me telling me what to do, just like the whacked out driver I'd been watching for 5 hours. Luckily for us, there is very little traffic in the middle of the night. I remember seeing the city getting closer as I got across the Bay Bridge. The San Francisco bus terminal was 4 blocks from work, and I remembered the entrance from 4 days before. The first time I got scared was seeing the lights in the parking lot, which seemed much more visible than the dark industrial areas where we'd been driving. I brake the bus when I feel the tires move into the lot. Someone turned off the engine and the door opened. I grabbed my backpack and vanished into the street. The whole thing was like magic. Since that night, I have recounted this story at least 100 times and rarely feel like I capture the real experience. The honest truth was, it never occurred to me that I could be in trouble. It didn't feel like stealing a bus. It felt like the camaraderie of exhausted travelers pulling together in the time of crisis, of strangers taking care of a very strange situation and getting away with it. As a child of the 70s, I had to get myself where I needed to be. As a hungover 23-year-old, I got myself to San Francisco driving a Greyhound bus.
Mia Scavone, everybody, first timer.